right now, Love and Understanding, written by Henry and Louis, featuring the man called Johnny Clark from Kingston, Jamaica. I am the man called Prince Green, sitting by and reasoning with you people and say, listen to the lyrics, it is very constructive. Take it in.
Dub music started in Kingston, Jamaica. Largely all music was song-based, and the legendary King Tubbies created the style by mixing some tunes with no vocal on and taking pieces of vocal and dropping them out of the mix, which was done on a 4-track with bits of echo and reverb attached to it, and that was the birth of dub in the early 70s. I got into it more or less when I first heard it. At the time I was listening to a lot of punk rock music more than anything, and a reggae influence crept through the punk rock through groups like The Clash, and I started to listen to Bob Marley, and by the time I was 15 or 16 I was listening to a lot of reggae music sounds. Dub music for me is firmly rooted in the African cultural influence that was revealed through the Jamaicans in the 70s. And the essence of a good dub track is drum and bass. That's why styles like jungle have evolved, because of the essentialness of bass and drums, that something like that can evolve, because that's what dance music is about in its rawest form. I'm very heavily influenced by the style and presence of Nyabinghi drummers. The dub roots was like an electronic form of Nyabinghi that was created when the Rasses came to the studio from the hills. And to me it was the same spirit moving through the mixing desk at the hands of people like King Tubbies.
Bristol was a big place for reggae. There was a group called still is a group called Black Roots, and Black Roots were the kind of what would you say, the steel pulse of Bristol, and they still do. They play in Holland, Germany, all over the place, and they were kind of, I mean, photographs of them are like wonderful. It's just kind of, it's about 12 seriously dreadlock guys, you know, with a photograph taken in about 1980 outside a council block in St Paul's. It's like hardcore stuff, and that they were recording and touring from Bristol from years back.
Rock Bristol rock, St Paul's jamming, whoa now, rock Bristol rock, St Paul's jamming, can you hear the music playing?
It was fantastic playing with Black Roots, you know. Traveled all over, done many gigs and different artists and things like that, you know. And it was wonderful.
Skippy Africana, Skippy
lot of people used to come and see us play live and things like that, you know. We have a big following in Bristol.
There was a lot of outfits going around putting down some radical messages, you know. Sometimes the people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, I don't know what they want to hear, but they didn't want to hear that, obviously, you know. It's too radical for them, I think. The message was too strong. Some people want to listen to it, and it's hard to get a lot of people to listen to something radical, you know. I think if you could get your message across a bit more commercially, you know, you stand a chance. That's what we've got to try and do, I think. Make it a bit simpler for the people, you know, to pick up on.
Soften the ear.
Soften the edge, yeah. We're not like Black Roots or, you know, we're never going to aspire to that. You know, we've got to make our own sound. You know, we're looking for our own sound.
First met Black Roots back in 1986 at an event in Bridgewater, African Aid, and met Delroy, and that was my first sort of insight into reggae music. And then 5 or 6 years later I started up with a band called Orange Street. We were playing ska, influenced two-tone, bit of roots reggae. I met up with Delroy again at one of his gigs with his other band One Drop, and asked him if he'd like to come along and do a guest appearance with Orange Street. Just escalated from there.
I've lived with it all my life. My dad's a drummer. He's brought me up with reggae music, and that's all I've listened to really since I was little, so it's what I want to play.
Material at the moment is Delroy's material, gigging stuff that Delroy does, and we do a bit of songwriting.
That's what we're all about, really, you know. Rastafarian and Jah and roots in our culture, you know. Live loving with people and things like that. I live it all my life, you know what I mean, Rastafarian, you know. Still haven't cut my locks, but still I live it Rastafarian, you know what I mean. Yeah, to the fullness.
Thank you.
Bristol was a big reggae place, so that Gregory Isaacs and Dennis Brown and people like that would come here and play at the Top Rank Suite. Sound systems would arrive. There's always been that kind of underground in that there's black community centres like the Malcolm X Centre now or the Ink Works, where you've always had a tradition of reggae sound systems or kind of roots and culture sound systems.
Yeah, Jah Trinity Sound. I'm gonna mash it up tonight for real.
Manisha.
See, our sound's a bit different. Our sound is the DJ. Because really, when we play, you know, it's not like where they got lots and lots of DJs lined up, queued up to get the mic. We don't operate like that, you know, because you don't need to have only the DJs. For example, when Jashaka plays, it's just him one. You have this Chaka, operate it, control it, put records on and chat, and nobody else has any influence over what he does. And our sound's similar to like that. Our sound, we just got me and my brother. when we was like teenagers, we used to go and just see lots of sound systems play, like at Jamaican club in Gloucester. They used to come from all over Britain, and they're all different and individual. So it inspired us to have our sound system. It was like the in thing. But the difference is, like now, you don't really see many new sound systems. They're all look and sound very similar. Whereas years ago, they were very individual. The guy I'm going to see now, David Judah, from Soledad, he makes his own tunes and that, and he's sort of getting quite big, you know, because he's turned professional. You have a dub?
Yes, I am. I hold it back down for the island, you know. Come through, man. I know CD and come out. See? Alright, so watch out. And them are some different kind of dub. See? All brand new, fresh as.
The people that make them actually make them like in their house, you know? They think of a tune, fresh, top of their head, inspiration, and they just go to a studio and mix it down, and then, because we're from Gloucester, we get it first, and then we also boost them and promote them. So, because our sound system, we play on our sound system, and they know just how we like it, so that, you know, they always mix it raw. So them and them do it out of the world, you know? Rough, Trinity style. Me and my brother built this shed 16 years ago. Solid. Solid. Everything you see is coming out. Oh.
I say greetings and welcome to the brethren from Swindon, you know. A man like Maxi and him Queen, you know. Rastafari. Every time. Greetings also to the Bristol crew. On ya. Well, here comes a new brand selection. So like the poster did say, new brand selection. Selection galore. Yeah. Trinity Sound. I want to say greetings and welcome to each and every one of the dance, you know. In the Black History Month of October, way down in Gloucester. Yes, I am giving thanks and praise to the Most High. Jah! Rastafari! We are the children of the Most High. Yes, I. We are children. But don't any apology. We are the children of the Most High. Celestial children. We are the children of Jah Rainbow. Yes, I. Music with your message.
There's a whole tradition in Bristol of sound systems that would go out to play at community centres in Gloucester, in Birmingham, in Wolverhampton, Swindon, Reading, London. There's always been that kind of underground. And Smith and Mighty fit more into the tradition of sound systems coming from the whole history of Jamaicans, you know, in this country, and you know, the way that unlicensed blues dancers and clubs in St Paul's would have sound systems every weekend, maybe every night, and it might just be one guy with one deck, you know, but that was a sound system. Pubs, even on the fringes of St Paul's, like in Montpellier, used to have one guy playing reggae records on a Friday night. I think Smith and Mighty and the Three Stripe Posse kind of fitted into that. I think Ray Mighty had gone out with sound systems from when he was a kid, basically.
Me and Rob Smith, my partner, were both into reggae before we went to dance. It's just something we were listening to a lot, and when we were younger, that was the only music that was played loud. You didn't get any, you know, all pop tunes, 70s pop tunes and disco tunes were quite light on the bass. You know, the only time you could hear anything really loud and heavy and hard sounding was when you went to reggae dances, and that's the only tunes that were doing it at the time. Rob was in a reggae band before I met him And so, you know, that we draw on those influences a lot. That's why it comes out in what we do, because that's what we were both into before we started making our own music. Our influences, well, obviously Sly and Robbie. They played on most of the better tracks towards the later bits of the 70s and early 80s. Before we actually started getting the equipment, we were into reggae, but as soon as we got this, we found we could emulate the sounds of the day, which was techno, and kind of breakbeats were just happening. The American hip-hop thing was just kind of happening over. And so we emulated that, but also keeping some of the sounds from Scientists and all those things. We take samples from those tunes.
Smith and Mighty in some ways are the most important of the lot. It could almost be argued that they are the real kind of heart and soul of the thing, and that their tracks, Walk On By and Anyone Who Had a Heart from 1987, 1988, were absolutely classic stuff. You could say that they anticipated jungle by kind of 7 years or something like that. The way that they used really kind of stuttering rhythms, and that the way that they used sound, so that the music, it's hard to talk about without talking about sort of pure sound. It's like juddering, collisions of beats and of sample strings and rhythms coming from all different kinds of directions, with lots of kind of cut-up voice effects and all the rest of it. I mean, it's quite avant-garde music, I think, for its time, in that they've remained kind of ahead of the game. In that now that they've re-emerged and they've had a kind of an independent album released, that the music scene has sort of come round to meet them, and you've got the whole thing of jungle happening. You've got that kind of dub-influenced, I guess, West Indian heritage that they were very much involved with, coming out and colonising all kinds of dance music through groups like Dread Zone, Zion Train, and all the rest of it. It's become a kind of familiar thing in contemporary pop.
The dub sound arose around certain particular effects in the studio, such as the spring reverb and the plate reverb and the tape echo. Now, in a modern studio, those effects are replaced by digital processors. The modern dub music is a mixture of live playing and computer programming. Some of it is 100% live playing. There are some roots bands in this area. But most people making the music wouldn't class themselves fully as virtuoso dub musicians, but as producers with the use of the modern technology, you can achieve quite a proficient sound.
I guess the style we play, the reggae roots style, it is an old style, but we use modern technology with, effects and things, so it kind of brings it up to date. Yeah. So, face something to death, and make it and push things to the limit, with the guitar, with the hi-hat on the drums, anything, just make it, warp it out, It's all played live, but it's got like a machine type feel. We might take the hi-hat and put an effect on the hi-hat just to give it a different sound and bring it in and bring it out. It's a different sound from an acoustic kit sound. It's roots reggae music, but using the same technology as all the guys playing your trip-hop and your jungle or whatever, you know, we're using the same technology. So hopefully it's going to sound modern, you know, and up to date. Because reggae music's never died out, you know. The influences can be not necessarily reggae, they can be jazz, you know, and everybody in the band's got their own individual influences. I saw the didgeridoo player playing with somebody in a pub, and I just thought it'd give an interesting dimension to the band, you know.
I feel it gives it a spiritual feel. It's like a sort of like when I was in Jamaica as a boy. That's a sort of feel, like the birds singing in the tree and the water and the fishes in the river. That's the sort of feel it gives me.
Yeah. One love to everyone. We are called the Rhythmites. And we come with some conscious music.
Dub has a certain attitude, a certain spiritual element that I think people who live in the West Country obviously tune into, while the rest of the world is perhaps living life at a different pace with a different set of values. I think the set of values put across by the nature of dub music are still respected in this part of the world.
Spiritual music. It's music that, I mean, that's the essence of it. It's not just the style, although the style is, well, you can't separate them. You know, it seems like the perfect house for the message to live in. And the message that's coming across is what is, well, it's one of revolution, it's one of love, it's one of, you know, confrontation in some ways, subversion in a lot of ways, but it's one of hope. Do you know what I mean? For what feel like pretty dark times. You know, it's an artistic house in which that message can live, and it seems to come across. When you think of other musical styles, you don't really come across that so much. You know, a specific spiritual or moral outline that's being pointed towards. So, or, you know, it's music that is prepared to take a stand against, well, what it refers to as the corruption of Babylon, you know, and the darkness of the system that we're all involved in. It's music that isn't afraid to confront that, bang on, head on.